So today I want to go over one of the best solo experience and loot farms in Diablo 4. And this farm can be done as efficiently as a solo player, but with like everything else in the game, being in a group will make it slightly better. You'll get that XP boost and it'll generally just make the run easier. But besides the XP boost, it's basically the same as a solo player. And this is going to be done in a dungeon called Forsaken Quarry that's located right above Kovashad. And this can be done at basically any level. It's an incredibly good farm at the higher world tiers once you're in the end game, and it's actually a very good farm for leveling up new characters. And in this video, I'm going to be using footage of me leveling up a new character, and even on a new character on world tier 1, the mob density is pretty decent. And keep in mind, the mob density is going to be tripled or quadrupled once you get into world tier 4. So once you get into the end game, there's going to be just ridiculous amounts of big packs of normal enemies and elites. And for this farm, the dungeon is going to consist of two parts. The first wanting you to kill all enemies, which you're going to do. Then once you get to the second part, you're going to skip the objective and just clear out all of the enemies in the area you get to. And then once you're done with that, you're going to reset the dungeon. If you're in a group, the leader of the group is going to leave and then everybody else is going to leave. The leader is going to re-invite all those players. It's going to teleport you all to the front. Then you all go back in, rinse and repeat. If you're a solo player, you're going to go to your map, teleport to the entrance of the dungeon, then log out and log back in. Now as a solo player, you're not really able to use elixirs for this farm because when you log out and back in, it'll use up your elixir. So you're also not going to get that 5% experience boost, but that's not that big of a deal. And there's a handful of reasons why this dungeon is actually so good to farm. First off, just being the density. Like I went over, you'll be seeing footage from me leveling a new character, and even on world tier 1, the density's pretty high, and the density just gets ridiculous when you're in world tier 4. And second being, the layout is incredibly simple. Most of the time when I go in here, it's legitimately just one big hallway with a few spots splintering off. So super simple, almost no backtracking. But a third thing that I think is underrated is how this dungeon goes about its first objective. Because in any dungeons that have the objective to kill all enemies, the dungeon will randomly teleport you a bunch of the enemies from other parts of the dungeon directly on top of you. That's why sometimes when you're in dungeons, it'll feel like a big pack of enemies just spawn directly on top of you because they legitimately just did. And for some reason, this dungeon starts that teleporting very quickly. You'll usually kill a few packs and then it will teleport most of the dungeon on top of you. I think because it's such a smaller dungeon, it's probably going off of a percentage. So you kill a percent of the dungeon and then it teleports the rest of the dungeon directly on top of you, allowing you to clear this first section ridiculously quickly. And another good thing about this dungeon is that even with it being so small, I've gotten at least one shrine every single run. And I think sometimes you can get 2 shrines. And with it being this small, one conduit shrine could potentially complete half the dungeon just off of that one shrine. So that shrine is actually going to be worth a lot more than it is in a lot of other dungeons that's much more spread out. So just a super simple, small dungeon, super jam-packed with enemies, very easy to reset, very easy to go in and clear, and the enemies are generally pretty easy. The most dangerous ones are the big guys that just have a big frontal slam attack, but besides that, the base enemies don't slow you or really do anything else, so it's super simple when it comes to enemies as well. And I would very much recommend you go farm this dungeon, whether you're in the end game trying to farm as much XP as you can, or trying to farm some gear to make your build stronger, or leveling up a new character to try to get into the end game. Especially if you're a solo player, because this is probably one of the best solo XP farms in the game right now, especially for how easy it is compared to going and spamming nightmare dungeons. But that's all I want to go over, so thanks for watching.
I must wait. I'm low on fury. I must wait. I'm low on fury. I'm low on fury.